thanks for everyone for joining the webinar today. As you'd all know, we are here to talk about Second Home NDIS or 8 Care Pty Limited and their equity crowdfunding offer that we're looking to host through On Market. We've had a really strong response from investors through the EOI process, so thanks for all those who've expressed interest. What we're looking to do is to finalise some discussions with some cornerstone investors at the moment, and we will be looking to open up the offer in the coming week or two. But we thought this might be a good chance for people to get on board, hear the story from Kin Chung, who is the founder and CEO of the business, and ask any questions that they might want to ask around the business. As I mentioned, we're doing the crowdfunding raise here for Second Home NDIS. The company is looking to raise up to $2 million under this offer, with those funds largely used to fund their growth and expansion in their service provision under the NDIS. But what I'll now do is I'll introduce Kin. Kin Chung is, as I mentioned, the co-founder and CEO of the business, and has been a passionate supporter and participant in the NDIS for a number of years. So Kin, look, I'll hand it over to you. It'd be great if you just give a bit of a snapshot on yourself and where you came about to start the business of Second Home NDIS.
Yeah, absolutely. So hi everyone, this is Kin. So actually my wife and I were both working in the NDIS sector in 2017. We were local area coordinators, so that means we were subcontractors to the government. And when we were working for the government, we found that there were lots of gaps in the NDIS space. For example, a lot of people we met, they live in shared house and they did not like where they were living. They have to share a toilet, they have to share one TV. In some cases, 20 people would share one bathroom and one TV. So imagine living in those situation for years. It's very hard for people. We also noticed a lot of people who would not like to go to respite services because respite is designed for their family member to take rest. So very often they go unwillingly, and they had to share a room in some occasions, and there was really nothing to do in the respite. On the other hand, because we work for the NDIS, we understand the internal rules and we understand how much the business were getting paid to provide those services. So we thought that, for example, when the regulation says that food and activities are included in short-term stay, we thought, why don't we provide more? Why can't we set up something that potentially make people happy while they stay in the long-term or short-term house as well? So that was the initial motivation for us to start this business.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Ken. That's really interesting. Look, I suppose it'd be great to get a feeling for the real gap that you're trying to fill here, and how you see yourselves, I suppose, playing in the broader NDIS sector.
So I think we've started in 2019, and since then we have grown from a family business. So unlike a lot of companies, they started with a few investors and they have a board to begin with. We started as a family business. Just my wife and I, and her sister was the support worker. So from 2019, we have grown until the financial year of 2023. We have over 60 employees and we provide services to over 300 participants per year. So the gap we are trying to fill here is essentially providing customized, tailor-made solution for people with disability in long-term and short-term housing. We focus on their happiness. We focus on designing something that's tailor-made for them, that is suitable for them on an ongoing basis. We want them to be safe and healthy as well. So that's the gap that we're filling.
Yeah, right. Look, I suppose what would be good to do now is give it if you could give people, or those that don't really already know, a bit of a snapshot of the NDIS, the size of the scheme, and sort of how you're seeing it being managed, and how you the key part of that, the scheme that you guys actually play.
So with the scheme expanding, actually there are multiple factors, of course. Some of the factors being the inflation and also more people coming into the NDIS program as more than they expected. So as we can see, the NDIS budget increase every year, and it's likely to get to close to 100 billion per year before it can come down. So we provide services to those who require higher needs support, higher physical needs support, and we provide long-term, lifelong solutions for them. So our business model is that we plan to work extensively with a participant for a period of time, let's say a few months, to set up their long-term house, something that they like, something that will, something that they can call home. Like perhaps like you and I, if we are going to buy a house, if we are going to design a home, we think about a long-term future. We want something that belongs to us. We want something that we like. So we set up a house for them and we build a relationship with them for a lifelong, as a lifelong journey. So I guess like as you can see with the NDIS funding increasing, there are lots more people coming into the scheme. So we build a lot of relationship with support coordinators and hospital. Because of the good services that we provide, we receive a lot of referrals from those people, and we work with them to provide lifelong solutions for them.
Yeah, right. I suppose it'd be good to get a feeling in terms of your service division. So you provide both long-term and short-term accommodation. Can you give us a bit of an overview in terms of how those differentiated and how they work together?
So, for example, like if you think about moving to another city, let's say if you live in Melbourne and you think about, oh, maybe I should relocate to Sydney, it is best for you to go and have a look first, right? You shouldn't just jump right in. So, in a lot of situations in the NDIS, that's one of the main difficulties for people. They don't know the provider, they don't know the support worker, they don't know how good they are before they have to sign an agreement and start a long-term housing services with them. So to address that, our short-term house can be used as a platform for them to understand second home NDIS more, understand our company culture, understand our support worker, and they can come to stay for a few days. We can arrange support worker to support them during that period of time, and they get to know them as well. They can tell us some feedback. Oh, I like that person more. I like their approach. I don't really like the other person's approach. So, I mentioned that we have a long process to kind of onboard a client, create a custom-made solution. So that's part of it. So apart from that, our short-term house is also very popular for people just use and respite because we provide customized activities and food option for people. So in our company, we always first talk to the participant and we create a whole plan for them, including what they're going to eat, what they're going to do. We ask them their goal, their preferences, and we create a plan for them before they go ahead with the short-term or long-term housing. So I guess that's one of the main difference that we do. Instead of creating a fixed program and say that you could join this, or we could, rent a house or buy a house and set it up, and then saying to them that this is our house. If you like it, you can come. We do it the other way around. We talk to them, we get to know them first, and we provide a custom-made solution for them. So we believe in one size fits one.
Yeah, right. And in terms of the, it'd be good to get a feeling in terms of the size of the business, how many properties you've got under management, how that's split between long-term and short-term.
So we have 17 properties under our management now, and 11 of those are long-term accommodations. And the rest of them, 6 of them are short-term accommodations. Some of them are bigger houses, they have 5 bedrooms, so we can allow more than one participant at a time.
And so, yeah, in terms of the long-term properties, have you got, what's the combination in terms of single, double and triple tenants or residents?
So for the long-term housing, most of them are occupied by one participant in like a smaller one-bedroom house, two-bedroom house, if they need a support worker. And two of those property were shared by two clients. And we do have a few applications that are on the way as well. So I think in the next few months, we would have few more, and some of them will be shared.
Right, and in terms of the properties where you've got a single tenant, have they generally got full-term care being provided by you guys, or how does that work?
Yes, so in general, those people who have one, like they occupy one house by themselves, they need quite high level of care. So we are talking about overnight support, passive overnight. That means the support worker will stay there in case of emergency. And in daytime, pretty much they would be supported throughout the day. So sometimes they might have 1 or 2 hours going out, or some of them have family members to look after them for 1-2 hours, or they have other support for 1-2 hours per day. But otherwise, they are supported by our support worker throughout the day.
Yeah, right. Look, I suppose it'd be good to discuss your business model a bit more as well, in terms of how you sort of work within the NDIS funding scheme, how you're regulated by NDIS, and what sort of oversight they have over what you do as well.
Okay, so the NDIS funding basically is allocated to the NDIS participant, so the people with disability. And we have a parent company that is AIDS Care Pty Ltd. And we have a sub-company called Second Home SDA. So Second Home SDA is a registered company, and it specialized in providing long-term housing solutions for participants. So of course, everything we do must be in line with the NDIS rules and guidelines and price guide. So how we do it is that we would, for example, we meet a client and we'll explain to them what we do, and we will look into their funding and see if they have the appropriate funding. And if they are happy, we send them an agreement. If they sign the agreement, then we provide the service. And after providing the service, we claim from the government. So then we get paid for those services.
Yeah, I think a key thing here is that your risk in terms of receiving those funds is low, but generally because it is basically effectively funded by the government, so you've got very little counterparty risk on the revenue that you do earn.
Yes, absolutely, and I think that's a very good point for us, because the government, they are very less likely to refuse a payment as long as we get everything in place beforehand. And also through COVID, through tough time, they do provide extra support as well. Through COVID, they gave us 10% on top of the regular charge, just to support the businesses keep going.
You're right. I suppose what would be good now is to chat about the growth you've seen over since you started the business in 2019. It's a pretty impressive growth in revenue you got there. It'd be good to sort of get a feeling of how the business has grown over the years, and how you've also ensured profitability each year as well.
So in terms of growth, actually, what we did was we didn't launch like a large scale of marketing or trying to take a lot of clients at once. So pretty much the growth you see here is most of them are organic. So we provide good services, and people in the industry, they tell their friends, family, and people that they work with to give us more referral. So we in the past few years, we had to turn down some clients as well, because we were not ready to provide the highest need of support, or to people with behavior issues, or some people, they come from other states, and we were not ready to provide services in other states. So actually, that's why we are we are planning to fundraise as well, because we want to provide the same quality of services to more people in different area, and for people with higher need. So that's about the growth. And in terms of profitability, because we have a longer term to understand the client before we start the services. So I think from my experience, that's an advantage because if, for example, like if we sign an agreement with the client and they move into one of our house and we realize, okay, the funding that they have is not enough to support the client. So either we have to make a loss by providing more services, but that doesn't get paid fully, or they would be at risk. So how we do it is that we take time to understand them and the support worker to meet with their support coordinator, occupational therapist, the family, to make sure the care plan that we create for them is appropriate, and we have the appropriate amount of funding for that care plan as well. So we are being very careful before we actually start the services for long-term clients, especially. So that's why we can do the calculation beforehand. Before we start the services, we already know how much we're going to pay for the support worker and each of the expenses, and then we can calculate that against the funding that they got approved. So that way we can maintain a stable margin of profit.
Yeah, right. Look, taking a step back, it'd be good to get a feeling in terms of how you see yourselves differentiating from other players in the space. Obviously, it's a huge market in the NDIS. You know, how in terms of the accommodation services that you provide, how many other players are out there, and how do you see the competitive dynamic there?
So there are actually quite a lot of NDIS providers these days, and some of them are very big. So I think in terms of how we stand out from other providers, first is, of course, the one size fits one solution that we provide. Second, I would say is the company culture, because we truly care about our support worker, and we believe how we treat our employees is how they treat the client. So I would say we have very good company culture, and I'm really proud of the team. We give them trust, we give them autonomy, and we allow them to do their best for the client. In the past 5 years, we have less than 10 resignations combined in the whole company. So I think most people are very happy working with Second Home and working with the clients. And I'll say the third thing of how we stand out from other company is the use of technology. So before the launch of ChatGPT, back in 2022, we already developed a tool for the employees to use AI to write and read email faster. So I think like everyone nowadays, you just copy your email to ChatGPT to for reading, or ask it to write an email for you. So we already had that in 2022, and right now we already have an AI bot that understand the NDIS scheme, understand calculating code, and understand NDIS price guide. So we have an internal version for the team, and we also have an external version that is free to use for NDIS participants. Moving forward, we are building some AI tool to help with mainly two things. One is the application, because we realize a lot of people, they could be eligible for the housing services from the NDIS, but they lack some document, but they haven't got approval of the funding. And from the beginning, we would help them to do it manually. So there is a lot of form filling, there's a lot of communication, following up, and as you imagine, like it would cost the business to do the follow up for weeks of time or even months of time. But if you give this task to an AI to fill in hundreds of forms, to make a weekly email follow up, it doesn't really cost the business, and it can be much more effective. We can do it in a much larger scale if all we need to do is to input all the reports and the necessary document for the AI, and the AI will complete the application process. Then everything will be faster. And the second thing the AI help is in the compliances and governance.
Yeah, right. No, it's interesting. Like obviously AI, a bit of a buzzword at the moment. Good to see you're actually applying it in an effective way for the business. look, it'd be good to get a bit of a feeling for the size of the team, how many people you've got employed, what their core roles are, and sort of how you mentioned culture is very important. Be good to get a sort of a bit more of an overview on that as well.
So yeah, of course. So I am the CEO of the company, and my wife Hina, she is the COO. So she's more responsible for the day-to-day operation, and she has weekly meeting with each of the key team member. So that's how we get to. I think what we don't want to have is that as the company grow bigger, we lost touch. We don't know what's happening at the front line, and we don't know what's happening to the client. So that's why Hina is doing one-to-one meeting weekly. And in the future, as we expand, she will still do one-to-one meeting to the managers and the key people in the team as well. But as the team grow, those people might manage other people too, and they would report back to Hina. But we never want to lose touch of the front line. So I'm more responsible for things like marketing, sales, finances, and overall, we have over 60 employees. We have around 10 people in the Philippines working for general admin. So just like the example that I told you just now, there are a lot of admin work, a lot of form filling, a lot of follow-up to do in the NDIS. So right now, those work is being done in the overseas team, and hopefully the AI will help that to be even more efficient. And we have a team of support worker around 45 people of support worker. So they are the frontline worker. They work with the clients directly. For the houses for the short-term houses, we have house manager. So they are there most of the time. So they are support workers as well. So we have someone who is actually physically there, because like imagine if we just understand everything from email, from report, from talking to them, then there is a risk of something not getting reported to us. So we have the general manager, we have the house manager. They constantly visit the clients and the house a lot of time to make sure everything is okay. We have the general assistant manager who maintain good relationship with all long-term clients and make sure. So her job is basically to make sure three things of the client. One is that they are happy. Second is that they're healthy. Third is that they feel safe. So those are the three main indicators that we look at when we work with the long-term clients.
Yeah, right. That's interesting. So look, yeah, obviously a large team that you've got running there, and human resources is always going to be a challenge, but it sounds like you do manage it pretty well. Yeah, obviously you've got a strong culture for your employees. How's the guest feedback? What have you seen in terms of the response from guests and in terms of the services you do provide?
So we call each of the client who come to our short-term house for feedback. And for the long-term client, we call them once per month. So apart from the general assistant manager and support worker, we have someone overseas who is independent from those people, calling those clients to. So I think our idea is to create a net of support. So not just one point, but a net of support. So we know how things is actually going. So it's going to be incredibly hard for someone trying to avoid all these check and like trying to lie. So because we do that, I guess, and also we truly do our best for the employees. We have over 98% of satisfaction rate from those survey that we have called the clients. And I think it is important for us to look at each of the comment and we action on it as well. So Hina and I look at each of the comment that they make. We also do the same for staff member. So each month we send out a staff satisfaction survey and ask them what they like and what they don't like about the company. So we address them monthly. I think that's how we foster a good company culture, is by constantly communicating, talking to people. So we see it in a way that, for example, if you want to maintain a good friendship with your best friend, you can't leave them be for a few months and only talk to them when you need something. I think that happens sometimes with other provider. They won't talk to the client that much unless something goes wrong. But we want to maintain a lifelong relationship with them. So we talk to them regularly. We understand if they're happy regularly. And if there is a problem, we do our best to help them. Not that we can fix everything, of course, but we do our best. And we truly believe that they understand when we give them, when we show them our passion, we often see that they are very thankful, and in return, they would refer clients to us. They are happy to do testimonial. They write good comments on Facebook.
Yeah, right. That's good. It's good to have a 98% satisfaction rate. It's pretty good. It's a very solid outcome. Look, the next thing I wanted to cover off, Kin, was what are your growth plans are. Obviously, you've grown very quickly over the last 4 or 5 years, and you're generally still focused in Victoria. Where do you see the growth coming from on the way forward from here?
So there are a few main areas. One, we want to expand to Queensland and New South Wales. From the NDIS official data, it actually shows in different regions how much people utilize their plan. Now, we find out that in some more remote area in New South Wales and Queensland, the plan utilization is somewhere between 70 to 80%. While in the city, it is usually 90 to 100%. So that shows that basically people living in those rural area, they don't have the support that they want. Therefore, they can't even spend the funding. So the first thing we would like to do, we want to expand to those rural area. We want to provide good quality services there to meet their needs, to deliver a happy and good lifestyles to them. And to do that, we need to tackle the lack of labor problem. So we are already working with some overseas agency and some immigration agents that we are planning to sponsor work visa for people to work in those remote area. Otherwise, it would be very hard for anyone to hire in those areas. So that's the first thing we want to do in terms of growth. Second, as I have mentioned, we are not providing services currently to people with the highest need of support. That means they need life supporting machine, and they might need tube feeding as well. So to do that, we need at least one registered experienced nurse in the team to train the other support worker. We will also need other professions such as occupational therapists in the team as well. So after we raise fund, we plan to use some of the fund to assemble that team, so we can finally go back to those people first, I guess, like before we reach out to other people, go back to those people who have inquired before and tell them if they like, we can start providing the services to them now. And another higher need support that we plan to deliver is people with behavioral issues. So a lot of providers tend to avoid that area because it won't be very easy to begin with, and there might be certain risk as well. But with a specialized team, and also I have worked as a support worker for 5 years with a teenage with severe autism with aggressive behavior. And I studied psychology in my university days, and I also took a training course for applied behavior analysis. So that's specialized working with people with autism. So with this experience and the knowledge that I have now, I'm very keen to provide good services to those people and using technology to help them, help the community to be safe, and hopefully to build a good solution for the family. And the other thing that we would want to grow, of course, is the IT, the AI technology that I just mentioned. So that is going to, if that is complete, when that is completely built, that is really going to help us to get more clients easier, because a lot of clients would come to us, they would be eligible for the home and living NDIS funding, but they don't have the funding yet. And for those people who have work with the NDIS will know it is quite difficult to get things done in the NDIS. It takes time. It takes a lot of work. So that system hopefully will help to make this process better and faster.
You're right. So look, I suppose, Ken, the other question I had for you around the growth is, where do you see second home NDIS being in 5 years and 10 years? What's your game plan going forward?
So after this raise, actually, we have already done the calculation. We are hoping to start 60 new steel clients in the upcoming financial year. So the financial year between 2024 to 2025. And if we are successful in that, that will bring the yearly revenue to around 20 million per year. And by that point, we will look into getting listed on the ASX market. And eventually, in 5 to 10 years, we want to bring the company to the 100 million revenue mark. It is not uncommon in the NDIS space, as long as we are doing the right thing, and as long as we keep growing, I guess, as an organization, and for my wife and myself as well, we keep learning new things. We keep delivering good services. I think we will reach there. I think the main challenge for a lot of these bigger organizations is to retain the employees and the clients. That's why when we start, we have the commitment to provide lifelong services and build lifelong relationship with them.
Yeah, right. No, I think it's very key, as you've talked about. You're building that lifelong relationship with your clients is very key for that longevity of keeping them happy, keeping them safe, and keeping them healthy is obviously very important to your business model going forward. Look, it'd be good to actually drill in. You mentioned, like, in terms of the size of the NDIS grants that each individuals can receive, and how that works in terms of how that's applied, and divided up between the services you provide and the services that other third parties provide.
Okay, I understand what you mean. So yeah, for the supported independent living still clients, so that means they need pretty much 24 hours of support. They are the highest need category clients. We do have a few of those clients, and most of the funding, around 80 to 90%, will be paid toward their home and living package. So which is the services that we're providing, the seal that we're providing. And they also have other services such as occupational therapies, support coordinators, and perhaps dietitian and speech pathologists as well. But that make up a smaller portion compared to the day-to-day support. Also, when the NDIS, we can see in the past few years, the NDIS would cut down budget on therapists, on support coordination, because those are the things that kind of not very, like, they don't suppose it to last. For example, when the NDIS fund support coordination, they want the support coordinator to set them up so that in 2-3 years of time, they can, they will know about the NDIS. They will know how to navigate, how to find provider. They will know what it means by different funding categories, so they don't need a support coordinator. But unlike those services, we provide home and living and the in-house services, which can really be reduced. So that's why it makes up most of the plan. I think in overall, in the NDIS overall budget for everyone, it makes up, I think, around 25% of the whole NDIS budget. Yeah, of course, not everyone is higher need, so not everyone would receive that home and living package. But overall, for everyone, the seal package make up around 25% of the total.
25% of the sort of the $40 to $50 billion is going towards accommodation.
Yes, exactly.
Wow,
exactly.
That's a huge space, isn't it? It's a lot of definitely a lot of need there as well. I think the key part in the NDIS space is a lot of the service providers are large organisations that are not for profit. And I think from our observations is a lot of these not-for-profit companies are very large, they're very slow, they're very bureaucratic, and probably not as efficient as an operator like second home NDIS would be. Would you agree with that, Ken?
Yes, absolutely. So when I used to work for, like, as a local area coordinator, So I had a lot of meetings with those organizations, and of course, I'm not saying that they were bad in any way. They're very large organizations. They have been around for many years. So there's good and bad, right? The good thing is, of course, they have a large client base and they have the brand, they have the trust from people. But I guess the bad thing is that with the NDIS scheme changing so quickly, like just 2 weeks ago, I went to this conference, and they are proposing a new category of NDIS support called the foundational support, and that's going to exceed 20 billion per year. So with change happen so quickly, I think we have an advantage. For example, if change when I know that that was confirmed that was going to happen, I went online and bought a domain of foundationalsupport.com.au and foundationalsupport.au. So, and we can, we have marketing team, we have team members who are working very closely with the website and the marketing. So we can switch really quickly, I would say. And also, because in the company, Hina and I, we're both directors and we actually have the knowledge. So I think it is better off this way than having a board of investor who actually don't understand the NDIS, and then a team of people who understand the NDIS, but they don't have the power to make decisions. So for us, we were both insiders, we were both in management position, and we grow the company from pretty much like just a small family business to now. So I think we have the ability to adapt really quickly.
Yeah, right. Now, look, if anyone does have any other questions, please feel free to shoot them through, and they'll answer them as we go through. We've got about 15 minutes left of the call. Look, Kin, I suppose it'd be worthwhile for any other questions to come in, just to talk about briefly the terms of the offer here. I can run through this quickly, but effectively, as I mentioned, Second Home NDIS is looking to raise up to $2 million at 80 cents per share. They have a pre-money equity valuation of $8 million, which is comparable to other companies in the space. We've used Freedom Care as a comparable, and giving a sort of an illiquidity discount to Second Home NDIS of around 25%. So that $8 million valuation based on revenues of $5 million for last year and profit of around $300,000 to $400,000 does make it a fairly reasonable valuation given the growth potential that Kin is seeing. I think, as you mentioned, $5 million revenue at the moment, targeting revenues of stepping up to 20 million, then up to 100 million over the next couple of years. It seems very much achievable given the demand that is out there. In terms of the equity crowdfunding, it allows investors to invest as little as $250. If you do want to invest more than $10,000 in the offer, you do need to be a sophisticated investor. And if you have any questions about that please don't hesitate to reach out to us at On Market, and we can walk through what that means. So it's for larger investors. As mentioned, we are in discussions with some larger investors, some cornerstone investors that are doing some due diligence on the business. So we're just trying to bed those down before we go live on the offer. But we do expect the offer to be going live in the next week or two. But we'll keep you in the loop as that progresses. In terms of use of funds, the minimum raise size is $300,000 up to $2 million. Kin, do you want to give a bit of a snapshot in terms of the use of funds and how you see those funds being applied?
Yeah, and I think I also want to mention the lifelong relationship with you guys as well as potential investor, because we also see the relationship to work with potential investor as lifelong relationship. So what we'll do after the raise is that we are going to compile monthly email that contains clients' happy photos or story with their consent, of course, for those who consent to share. And we would like to share the happiness with you guys. This is something that is very important for the whole team, because now we are sharing those photos and stories in our group chat internally in the company. I think it motivates us a lot. I think it tells us that what we're doing actually has an impact on people's life, and we take pride of that. So hopefully if you come on board, we would like to share that with you as well, and we hope that you're happy, because your investment has made a positive impact. So in terms of the use of fund, as you can see on here, we are planning to use half of the fund for expansion. So that means pretty much including, that means pretty much that is for hiring the business development managers. So we found that in this space, we spend some money on marketing, right? So they might talk to us, but it is more important to have people who are local and they go and actually get in touch with the community, talk to people in the industry, talk to parents, host events. So we found that in a lot of areas, especially more rural area, hosting an event to explain what NDIS, home and services, home and living are, what is SDA, what is SEAL. So those events work pretty well. And because those people who come will be relevant individuals, and also in, I guess like overall, there is not that much information that is easy to understand. So majority of the funding will be spent that way, as you can see here. Some of the costs will be spent on the AI CRM system. So that's the research and development on the top. And the regulatory approval, that's the registration for providing high intensity support and for people with behavioral issues. Yeah, so that's pretty much make up the whole plan.
Sure. And any questions just come through? If you only meet the fund that raise the minimum amount of funds of $300,000, will you look for other avenues to raise more funds?
So if we do raise the minimum, we are planning to use that to expand however much we can, and we might raise another round in a year of time or two. But we won't work on another raise in any time soon. First, we would spend that fund, and we would like to demonstrate how well we can spend that fund.
Yeah, right. I think, I suppose, given you are profitable, you know, the funds are really there to sort of fast track growth as opposed to fill a hole in your budget at the moment. So, yeah.
Yes.
Now, look,
absolutely.
were there any other questions from people? If you do have any questions, you can either put it through the chat or through the Q&A function.
Hi there. Can you hear me, guys?
Yes, we can. How are you?
Yes, I can hear you.
Awesome. No, I'm just wanting to understand, like, what is the net profit margin of this business?
So in the financial year of 2023, after tax, we had net profit of around 400K, but we have put most of the profit back to growth pretty much. If we don't put, I would say if we didn't put the money back to the growth, then I would say we have around 15 to 20% of profits margin.
Okay, gotcha.
I think, Neelish, in terms of what I've observed with the business, the way they basically build out the costs and the service provision on the funding is they can clearly see how much funding is available from each individual. They can clearly see what the costs are in terms of providing those services. So it's pretty easy to see the sort of the revenue benefit analysis for each individual client on a case by case basis. So it's quite a neat model in that respect. There's a lot of certainty.
Okay, got you. And the other thing I wanted to ask, I'm new to this crowdfunding thing. Like, so say for example, I wanted to invest. Would I be able to look at the financials of the previous years?
Yes, so Neelish, we're just finalising the financials at the moment. So we'll be able to share the financials with you before the offer goes live, and definitely once the offer is live. So that we're just working through that with the accountants at the moment.
Gotcha.
So you can see the sort of the last 2 years financials. And if you do have any other questions, you know, we can always jump on a call with you directly and go through some more of the detail.
Sure, thank you.
A question also has just come through. Yes, there will be an information memorandum that will be available, which will include sort of details of the offer, the constitution, the financials, and any other supporting information. That should be available shortly. Again, another question has come through. So what do you see are the biggest risks for the company, specifically being in the NDIS sector?
Yeah, so there are a few. So one is, of course, the government funding, and I guess the change of the government. So because the NDIS is totally funded by the government, so they can make decision on how much to put into the NDIS. But I guess how we combat this change or this risk is that we constantly learn the latest changes and the potential direction of the NDIS, just like the foundational support that I just mentioned. So those things will get implemented in maybe 2 or 3 years of time, but we constantly look out to future changes of the scheme. Secondly, would be responsibility and I guess legal as well, because there are a few incidents that happen on the news that we can see that people might got hurt or they might be disadvantaged in some NDIS services. So one of the way for us to combat this is the network of touch point with the clients and understanding their health and well-being as often as we can. Also, we work with a lawyer, and also we have a governance system currently, of course, looking at the compliance. And in the future, those will be also powered by AI, so it will be more effective.
Okay, right. So, Ken, I suppose we might wrap up the call now, given we're it's 1:26. I'm sure everyone's got things they need to go and do. But look, if you had any finishing points, why do you think people should invest in second home NDIS?
Thank you. So I think the closing point I have for you guys is that thank you very much for taking your time to come to the webinar. I think it is a rare business opportunity because first, it is a government-funded program that we know is going to expand. Some of the government funding will be spent on things like, a new airport in Sydney or Westgate project. Those are not opportunity that the public can invest into. So I think the NDIS is a good opportunity, and we have a team that understand caring and understand the NDIS well, and we have proven growth. So I think this is a good opportunity. Secondly, I would like to again mention the monthly email, so you'll be able to see who you have helped and the happy stories, and I hope that could make your day, your life a bit better, a bit happier.
Yeah, right. Okay. Look, thank you everyone for joining today. We might call it up now. If you do have any questions in relation to the opportunity, please don't hesitate to shoot us an email here at On Market. As mentioned, we will keep you in the loop in terms of when the offer is going to be opening, and we look forward to welcoming you all as potential investors and being part of the exciting growth of second home NDIS. So thank you very much, Ken.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.